Funny how justice doesn't always come from courts or cops. Sometimes it comes from a daughter with a plan and a very good memory. My mother's voice was steady when she said it, almost rehearsed. Anna, we need you to postpone your wedding. Just 6 months. Your sister deserves to go first. She's always dreamed of a spring wedding at Riverside Estate, and you've already booked it for March. I was standing in my childhood kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd made myself breakfast every morning while my parents slept in after staying up late with Sophia's drama recitals. The same kitchen where I'd learned that if I wanted something, I'd have to get it myself. My fork didn't freeze. My hand didn't shake. I just looked at my mother, then at my father sitting at the head of the table, nodding along like this was the most reasonable request in the world. Then I looked at Sophia, 25 years old, 3 years younger than me, glowing with that entitled confidence that comes from never being told no in your entire life. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. Have you ever been the child who didn't matter? The one who learned early that your needs would always come second? And if you were, what would you do if your parents asked you to give up your wedding day, the one thing you planned for yourself, so your golden child sister could have it instead? Drop a comment and tell me honestly, because what I did next, I did with a calm that scared even me.
My name is Anna. I'm 28 years old, and I'm a forensic accountant. That last part is important. Remember it. Growing up in our house meant understanding a simple truth. Sophia was the sun, and I was the shadow that made her shine brighter. She got piano lessons, while I taught myself Excel spreadsheets on our old family computer. She got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a used bike from a garage sale for my 14th. When she failed classes, they hired tutors. When I got straight A's, they said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to discussing Sophia's audition for the school musical. I learned to be quiet, not because I was naturally introverted, though I am now, but because being loud meant being compared to Sophia, and I always lost that comparison. So I became the girl who needed nothing, the girl who figured things out, the girl who got a full scholarship to state, while Sophia got a BMW for getting into community college. Different daughters, different standards. That's just how it was. But here's what they didn't know. While I was being quiet, I was watching. I was learning. I was documenting. Because when you're invisible, people forget you're in the room. And they say things, they do things, they make mistakes. And I have a very, very good memory. I met Daniel 3 years ago at a charity gala for underprivileged students. I was there because my firm sponsored it. He was there because he'd started the foundation. Daniel Chen, venture capitalist, self-made, the kind of man who grew up with nothing and built everything. He was standing alone by the bar, watching the crowd with the same detached observation I'd perfected over the years. When our eyes met, he smiled. Not the performative smile people wear at events like this, but something real. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," he said when I walked over. "I'm exactly where I want to be. I just don't need everyone to know it." He laughed. We talked for 3 hours. About books, about growing up invisible, about the strange relief of being underestimated. He told me he'd sold his first company at 26. I told him I'd just made senior associate at one of the top forensic accounting firms in the state, the youngest in the firm's history. "Forensic accounting," he repeated, impressed. "So you find people who lie with numbers. I find people who think they're smarter than everyone else, then I prove they're not." He asked me to dinner, then another, then another. For 6 months, I didn't tell my parents about him. Not because I was hiding him, but because I knew. I knew that the moment they found out Daniel had money, everything would change. I wanted them to meet the man I loved, not the man who could pay for things. But eventually, I had to tell them. When I finally introduced Daniel at Sunday dinner, my father's first question wasn't, "What does he do?" or "What are his intentions?" It was, "What kind of car do you drive?" Daniel answered politely, "A Tesla Model S." My mother's eyes lit up. Sophia leaned forward. That's when I knew I'd made a mistake.
Daniel proposed on a Tuesday night in my apartment. No flash mob, no public spectacle, just him, me, and a ring he'd designed himself, a sapphire because I'd once mentioned I found diamonds boring. "I don't need a big wedding," I told him that night. "Just something small, intimate, people who actually care." "Then that's what we'll do," he said simply. We booked Riverside Estate, a historic venue an hour outside the city. 80 guests, garden ceremony, March 15th. I'd been planning it for 4 months. Everything was paid for. Everything was confirmed. I didn't ask my parents for money. I didn't ask them for help. I just invited them. And then, 2 months before the wedding, Sophia got engaged. Her boyfriend, Alex, was a perfectly nice guy, mid-level marketing manager, decent job, decent car, decent everything. He proposed with a flash mob at the mall. Sophia posted 47 Instagram stories about it. The next Sunday, my parents invited me to dinner. "Family meeting," my mother said. That's when they told me, "Anna, we need you to postpone your wedding." My mother said it like she was asking me to pass the salt. "Just 6 months," she continued. "Sophia's always dreamed of a spring wedding, and Riverside Estate is perfect. She's already contacted them. They have an opening on your original date if you cancel." I set my water glass down, slowly, deliberately. "You want me to cancel my wedding," I repeated, my voice flat, "so Sophia can have my venue on my date." "It's not like that," my father interjected. "It's just that Sophia's been planning her dream wedding since she was a little girl." "And I haven't?" I asked quietly. "Well, you're more practical," my mother said, as if that explained everything. "You'll understand. Sophia needs this, and Daniel's successful. He can afford to rebook something even nicer for the fall." There it was. Daniel's successful. He can afford it. They weren't asking me to postpone. They were telling me that my wedding didn't matter because they assumed my fiancé's money could fix the inconvenience of their favoritism. Sophia was smiling, that small, smug smile I'd seen 1,000 times before. "It's only 6 months, Anna, and you've always been so flexible." Flexible. That was her word for erasable. I looked at Daniel. His jaw was tight, but he stayed silent, waiting for my lead. I could have screamed. I could have cried. I could have flipped the table. Instead, I did something that scared me more than any of those options. I smiled. I said calmly, "Okay, let me think about it." Daniel and I left my parents' house in silence. When we got back to my apartment, he finally spoke. "We're not canceling," he said firmly. "I know," I replied. "We're not postponing." "I know." "And we're not going to let them—" "Daniel," I turned to face him, "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" He searched my face, then nodded slowly. "What are you going to do?" I pulled out my laptop, opened a folder I'd been building for 7 years. "I'm going to give them exactly what they've always given me," I said quietly. "Nothing." Let me tell you what that folder contained. 7 years ago, when I started working in forensic accounting, I got curious. My parents owned a small real estate investment company. Nothing huge, but comfortable.
They'd always claimed they were self-made, that they'd built everything from scratch. But I'd seen the paperwork growing up. I'd seen the loans, the mortgages, the late payment notices they thought they'd hidden. So I looked. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it became something else. What I found: tax evasion. They'd been underreporting rental income for 12 years, claiming personal expenses as business deductions, hiding cash transactions. Identity theft. When I was 19, they'd opened 3 credit cards in my name to cover Sophia's college expenses, maxed them out, never told me, ruined my credit score for years. Loan fraud. They'd used falsified documents to secure a business loan, listed assets they didn't own, inflated their income by 40%. Property schemes. They'd transferred property titles into my name without my knowledge, making me legally liable for their debts while they maintained control. Everything was documented. Bank statements, tax returns, loan applications, property records. I'd been collecting it all for years. Not because I planned to use it, but because I'd learned early that the only way to protect yourself from people who use you is to know exactly how they're doing it. Now I was going to do more than protect myself. I was going to make them pay. The next day, I called my mother. "I've thought about it," I said, my voice calm. "You're right. Sophia should have her dream wedding." I could hear the relief in her voice. "Oh, Anna, I knew you'd understand." "I'll cancel Riverside Estate, but I'd like to host an engagement party for Sophia first, to celebrate. My treat." There was a pause. "That's very generous of you," my mother said, suspicion creeping into her tone. "It's the least I can do," I replied sweetly. "How about next Saturday? I'll rent a private room at the Ashford Club, invite the whole family. Daniel and I will take care of everything." Sophia got on the phone. "Really, Anna? Oh my God, you're the best sister ever." I smiled into the phone. "I know," I said. The next 6 days were a masterclass in controlled chaos. I didn't cancel Riverside Estate. I told my parents I did, but I simply changed the reservation to Daniel's name and paid the remaining balance in full. I hired a forensic audit team, discreetly, through colleagues my parents would never trace. I contacted the IRS, filed a formal complaint, provided documentation. I contacted the bank that had issued the fraudulent loan, submitted evidence. I contacted a real estate attorney, had them prepare a property transfer, legally removing my name from every title my parents had put me on without consent. And I planned an engagement party. Not for Sophia, for them. The Ashford Club is the kind of place that makes people feel important. Vaulted ceilings, crystal chandeliers, waitstaff in bow ties. I'd rented the largest private room, invited 60 people, my parents' friends, extended family, Sophia's friends, Daniel's family, and a few carefully selected guests of my own. When my parents arrived, they looked impressed. "Anna, this is beautiful," my mother said, glancing around. "You really didn't have to." "I wanted to," I said calmly. "Tonight is about family." Sophia was glowing, showing off her ring, talking about her spring wedding at Riverside Estate. I watched, calm, composed, controlled. Daniel stood beside me, his hand resting lightly on my back. He didn't know exactly what I was about to do, but he trusted me. At 7:30, I clinked my glass. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady. "I wanted to gather everyone here tonight to celebrate something important." Sophia beamed. "Family," I continued, "is supposed to be the people who see you, who value you, who treat you with respect and honesty." I paused. "Unfortunately, not everyone experiences that." My mother's smile faltered. I pulled out a slim folder from my bag and set it on the table in front of my parents. "Mom, Dad, I have a gift for you." My father frowned. "What is this?" "Open it," I said calmly. He did. Inside was a single document. The top page was an IRS audit notice. The second page was a cease and desist from the bank regarding loan fraud. The third page was a property title transfer. Every piece of real estate they'd put in my name, now legally back in theirs. And the fourth page was a credit report, mine, with a highlighted section showing the fraudulent accounts they'd opened in my name. My father's face went white. My mother grabbed the folder, scanning the pages. What is this?" "That," I said, my voice cold and clear, "is justice." The room was silent. Sophia looked between us, confused. "Anna, what's going on?" I turned to her. "Your wedding at Riverside Estate?" I said calmly. "It's not happening. I never canceled my reservation. I just told you I did." Her face fell. "Your dream venue? Your dream date? It's mine. It always was. And unlike our parents, I don't steal things that belong to other people." I turned back to my parents. "For 28 years, you made me invisible. You gave her everything and gave me nothing. You told me I was fine, that I didn't need help, that I understood. But here's what you didn't understand. I wasn't fine. I was watching. I was documenting, and I was waiting." My father stood up, his voice shaking. "Anna, you don't know what your tax evasion, identity theft, loan fraud, property schemes. Should I continue?" The room erupted in whispers. "You used my name, my credit, my identity to fund a life you couldn't afford, to give Sophia everything while making me feel like I was selfish for wanting anything?" My mother's voice cracked. "Anna, please, we can explain. You can explain it to the IRS and to the bank and to the attorney who's currently drafting a lawsuit for emotional damages and financial fraud." I picked up my glass of champagne. "Oh, and one more thing." I turned to Sophia. "I spoke to Alex yesterday, told him everything. About the credit cards in my name, about the wedding you're planning with money from a loan our parents secured through fraud, and about how none of this was ever built on anything real." Sophia's face crumbled. "You didn't." "He called off the engagement this morning, said he couldn't marry into a family built on lies." The room was dead silent. I took a sip of champagne. Funny how justice doesn't always come from courts or cops. Sometimes it comes from a daughter with a plan and a very good memory. I set the glass down. "Daniel and I will be leaving now. Our wedding is still scheduled for March 15th at Riverside Estate. None of you are invited." I picked up my purse. "Oh, and Mom, Dad, your assets have been frozen pending investigation. You might want to hire a lawyer." I turned to Daniel. He was staring at me with something between shock and admiration. "Ready?" I asked. He took my hand. "Always," he said. And we walked out. Behind us, I heard Sophia burst into tears. I heard my mother's voice rising, desperate and panicked. I heard my father shouting at someone. Maybe me, maybe the room, maybe himself. But I didn't look back.
Week 1. The immediate collapse. The IRS launched a full audit. My parents' accounts were frozen. Their business operations halted. Sophia moved back in with them, no longer engaged, no longer employed, her job was at their company, no longer glowing. Family members started calling me, some angry, some apologetic, some asking if what I'd said was true. I didn't answer. Week 2. The social reckoning. Word spread. My parents' friends distanced themselves. Their reputation in the community, the self-made success story they'd built, collapsed overnight. The bank filed criminal charges for loan fraud.
Sophia tried to call me 23 times. I blocked her number. Month 1. The legal consequences. My parents hired a lawyer. The lawyer called me, offered a settlement. They'd admit to the credit card fraud and identity theft if I dropped everything else. I declined. The forensic audit confirmed everything I documented. The evidence was irrefutable. They faced fines, potential jail time, definitely bankruptcy. Month 2. The golden child falls. Sophia got a job at a coffee shop, posted a long, rambling Instagram story about family betrayal and jealous siblings. Her former friends commented with the audit details. The post was deleted within an hour. She sent me a letter, handwritten, begging me to fix this. I burned it. Month 3. The wedding. March 15th arrived. Daniel and I got married at Riverside Estate, 80 guests who genuinely loved us. The ceremony was perfect. Quiet, intimate, no drama. During our vows, Daniel said, "You taught me that the quietest people are often the strongest, that patience isn't weakness, it's strategy, and that the people who underestimate you do so at their own peril." I cried, not from sadness, from relief. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible. Month 6. The settlement. My parents declared bankruptcy, lost their business, lost their house. They moved into a small apartment. My father got a job as a property manager, working for someone else for the first time in 30 years. My mother sent a final email. One line. "We're sorry. We didn't know you had it in you." I didn't respond, because they still didn't get it. It was never about what I had in me. It was about what they took from me, and what I finally took back. A year later, Daniel and I bought a house. Nothing extravagant, just a place with a big kitchen and a backyard. I'm still a forensic accountant, still quiet, still observant. But now when I walk into a room, people see me. Not because I'm loud, not because I demand attention, but because I built something they can't ignore. Sophia reached out one more time, asked if we could talk, said she'd been in therapy, said she understood now. I thought about it. Then I declined. Because some doors close for a reason, and some people only want back in when their spotlight dims. My parents never contacted me again after that email. I heard through extended family that they'd tried to reconcile with Sophia, but she blamed them for ruining her life. The golden child who'd had everything now had nothing, and the invisible daughter who'd had nothing now had everything. Epilogue. A message to the invisible ones. If you're watching this and you've ever been the forgotten child, the one who learned early to need nothing because nothing was offered, I want you to know something. Your invisibility isn't weakness. It's the foundation you built when no one else would build it for you. And one day, you'll stand on that foundation, and everyone who overlooked you will finally understand what they missed. The quietest people often have the most powerful stories. They just choose when to tell them. I chose my moment carefully. I chose it coldly. I chose it with a plan and a very good memory. And I'd do it again. If this story spoke to you, drop a comment below. Have you ever been the invisible one? The one who's always fine? The one who's told they understand while others get everything? Tell me what you would have done. Would you have let it happen? Or would you have taken control? And if you want more stories about people who refuse to stay invisible, subscribe. Because the quiet ones, we're just getting started.